Ranking the Scene.
What the fuck is up, Warped Tour, the State of the Scene at SOTS Podcast on all social media. Sarah here with Marcos.
Ye fucking ha.
Welcome to Ranking the Scene, where every week we bring 3 new albums to the ever-growing tier list and rank them against every album that's come before and every album that will come after to figure out what the best album in the scene is, and coincidentally, the worst. This week, 3 albums from the biggest artists in the scene, period. All suggested by our patrons. If you want to suggest an album, patreon.com/SOTS podcast.
The biggest artists in the history of the scene. Whoever could those be, Sam?
Marcus, that would be Fall Out Boy and their album Folie A Deux, Panic at the Disco and their album Death of a Bachelor, and My Chemical Romance and their album Danger Days. Did I almost say Danger Gaze?
Danger Days.
I
the
almost said
dangerous,
Danger Gaze.
Fabulous life of the true
lives
True blood.
of the fabulous Killjoys and their lives. Big albums.
From here forward, referred to as Danger Days.
Before we move forward, Marcos, of course.
No, well, hey, we're not even touching on the most important
not even touching on
piece
what?
of it here. This is an Emo Trinity episode from top to bottom.
It's the Emo Trinity episode.
It's
yes,
not everyone's Emo Trinity, but like...
It's the exact bands and albums that people were asking for when they referenced the Emo Trinity and wanting us to cover it on the show. They said, I got to hear Death of a Bachelor thoughts immediately. But then again, to be fair, these were requested. So, with that being said, I'm going to show you what the tier list looks like currently. If you don't want to be spoiled, go listen to old episodes.
I don't want to be spoiled.
Close your eyes.
It's going to be a rough episode.
But it doesn't super matter for what it's worth, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Show them.
Swing. At the very top, Marcos, here's our tiers. GOAT, Masterpiece, Certified Hood Classic, That Bitch, Just Okay, Pretty Mid, Fucking Awful, Crime to Humanity, in which one sole album sits all by its lonesome. That would be Father of All by Green Day. The worst record we've listened to this point. And at the very top, Marcos, Sempiternal by Bring Me the Horizon. The very best. Closely behind it, Disposed by the Plot in You, and Dying is Your Latest Fashion by Escape the Fate. And all in the middle of that is a mess of other records we've covered and how we feel about them overall. Once again, Ranking the Scene playlist on our YouTube channel. You can go watch all those episodes now. You can get caught up. Or you could just stick around and listen to how we feel about Folie A Deux by Fall Out Boy, which was released in 2008. It takes its name from a French phrase translated as, it takes its name from the new Joker movie. Guitarist Joe Troman spoke of the title's significance as a metaphor. And I quote, "It's a psychiatric term for when crazy people get together and their out-of-control psyches enhance one another, and not always in positive ways. I think it describes the inner workings of Fall Out Boy. When the 4 of us get together in a room, things get pretty crazy."
So shouldn't it be called Folie Quatre? What the fuck is the French word for 4?
No, you're showing your ass right now. You don't know anything about French. This was the 4th and final Fall Out Boy studio album released before the band's 2009 hiatus, which lasted until their return in 2013. When promoting the album, a viral campaign was launched centering around a fictional organization named Citizens for Our Betterment. Do you remember any of this shit?
I don't. One thing I did want to mention is in preparation for this RTS episode, reading up a little bit about Folie A Deux leading into the hiatus and then their return, they explicitly, they didn't want people to refer to it as a hiatus, which I forget. And the band went on record as just calling it a decompression. So
you call it whatever you want.
A
it's a
decompression is interesting, yeah.
But I understand that these bands are wordsmiths and poets, so by all means, you decompress your ass into a hiatus. Marcus, the singles were I Don't Care, America's Sweethearts, and What a Catch, Donnie.
Yes, That is accurate, Sam.
That is correct.
So I had never heard this album leading into this episode, RTS.
You're such a fucking liar.
No, I don't think I've heard this one. And when I went and listened to it leading into this episode, I was not familiar with much of the material.
Are you fucking serious right now? Or are you fucking with me? You never heard this record?
So you're to blame.
What do you mean I'm to blame? Don't put this on me.
Obviously, this comes out in 2008. It's not the streaming age. If I want to go listen to an album, I either pull up every individual song on YouTube. Don't interrupt. Or you go out and buy the record. And around this time, yes, I'm starting to collect and create my own CD collection.
I'm like Biden levels of confused right now.
Loved Infinity on High. Loved Cork Tree.
Infinity on High was like your whole personality.
Absolutely a Fall Out Boy fan. Infinity on High, I remember, bro. I demanded our mother drive us to Walmart so that we could go pick up the version that had like the tarot cards in it. And I still own those to this day. Yeah, I was very excited about this album. Yeah. Not all of them. I think I've definitely lost some. But I remember this album comes out, and I believe at some point I asked you what you thought of it before I had listened, and you told me you didn't like it that much. And at that point, between getting around to it, which is what I decided I would then do, and this band's hiatus, which would come like within a year.
This is so fucking crazy right now. Why would you listen to me so like fucking devotedly?
I don't know. So that the band goes on hiatus. Suddenly I'm pissed at them. I have less love for them. You told me the album sucked. It was bad. The band is awful. That's why they quit music. And I never got around to it. And I never had that desire to, because in my mind, it was always an album that was just considered bad, not their best, at least by you in this room.
Okay, so you finally fucking heard Folie A Deux. What do you think about it? Quit making us fucking wait. Tell me.
I do not like this album.
This album fucking stinks. It is so bad. Anyone who's ever defended this album has never been more wrong in their whole goddamn life. And you can shut the fuck up in the comments already, because I do not care. You are wrong. This is not opinion. This is factual. This album is terrible. Nothing ever happens in this record, ever. It is one of the least interesting things I've ever listened to. I've never been more bored in my whole goddamn life. I couldn't believe I was listening to Fall Out Boy. This was brutal. Now, all that being said, the singles are still kind of good.
The singles are solid.
Inexplicably, the singles are kind of solid. I still think Wanna Catch Naughty is fucking fantastic. That was a great go-ahead single for this record.
I Don't Care is probably my favorite of the singles.
It was very, very good as well.
It's just a flat-out
And America's
catchy song.
Sweetheart is like slotted itself right there in the grocery store playlist, and the section of songs that are actually still kind of acceptable, surrounded by a bunch of other songs I sort of hate. And then everything else happens on this record. The Shipped Gold Standard might be my least favorite Fall Out Boy song in all time. Tied with Tiffany Blues, or $20 Nosebleed, or West Coast Smoker. This album, respectfully, sucks ass.
So I was always under the impression that of the elders of the emo trinity, that none of them had ever featured on each other's album. You know, like Haley Williams hasn't been on a 21 Pilots song. Gerard
I don't know
Way
how to explain it,
was
but
never
this fucking,
on a Panic at the Disco song. And then you've got Brendan Urie.
Feature polycule bullshit here does not count.
Right. And then you've got Brendan Urie. He's essentially given his own song on this album. And it's one of the worst things to ever come out of the emo trinity ever. This album is really not good, Sam. There are 3 separate instances I couldn't finish the song.
I'm
looking at the counter go down
mode right there with you.
Yeah, like I'm down to like 30 seconds. I'm like, they're just gonna repeat the chorus. I'm out. I gotta tap out. I can't do it again.
Did you have that moment with like Disloyal Order of Water Buffaloes and I Don't Care, where you were like, okay, maybe there is something here, and before it's, like
no, because for like the first minute of She's My Winona, I'm sort of still with it, and then like another minute passes and I'm like, ugh, this song's not that great.
And then like America's Sweetheart, it's like
I actually don't like America's Sweetheart, by the way.
I think that's a pretty decent song. It's not one of the better Fall Out Boy singles, which I think is hard to be in the top of the Fall Out Boy singles. There's a lot of fucking good ones. It's towards the bottom, but I like it. I also kind of like Head First Slide into Cooperstown on a bad bet.
Bad.
And then it's like 10 misses outside of What a Catch Donnie.
And What a Catch Donnie is crazy because it is a fucking legendary song from this
It's
band,
massive.
right?
I can't believe how good it is and that it has to exist on this record.
They make so much work. Well, like you have so many different people contributing to the song, and it's excellent.
I was just like scratching and tearing at this fucking track listing to find something that I could like enjoy, and it simply was not there. I like came up empty-handed every single fucking time. Coffees for closers. I'm like, why is this in quotations? Now you're annoying me. You know when it's like band do cool things, but then when the song sucks, it's like, well, this is just stupid, actually. Now I don't even like this.
I remember seeing a bunch of song titles I didn't recognize.
Parentheses. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
During like the So Much for Tour Dust.
Oh, like
surprise
so like songs
song
from
every
this
night,
fucking shit, right?
Taylor Swift era tour type vibe thing.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically seeing like Coffee for Closers. Oh my God, they're playing Coffee for Closers. I can't believe you were there. It should have been me. And thinking like, I never heard it. And then by the time I hear it, like I'm connecting those dots in my head and I'm like, holy shit, this is bad. Like, how would people be excited to
I would
see
be
this?
deeply
I don't know,
disappointed
man.
if the Magic 8 Ball fed me Coffee for Closers.
Yeah.
I'd be like, fucking roll it and shake it again, please.
And then you look at like the rest of this track listing, Sam, and you're right. Like there's just nothing at that back half. That
It's a brutal
redeems it.
run. 27, Tiffany Blues, Whams, $20 Nosebleed, just brutal after brutal after
I don't
brutal.
like super hate Whams. West Coast Smoker I'm like kind of with until I'm not.
How do we go from Infinity on High to this?
And then by the
I
time
will
this
never
record
know.
ends, it's like good fucking riddance, like over and done with. Put out the fire, throw it in the trash.
The
This is
version I listened to
not a
on
good
Spotify
record.
did not have the Beat It cover, which I feel like might have been a saving grace for this record because at least
I did not hear the Beat It cover either.
Yeah, like
Which
it
is a
wasn't-
great
it wasn't
cover.
there. I wasn't there. You're not gonna like what I'm thinking of. I think, unfortunately, this is a bottom 2-tier album.
No, I'm there with you.
You're right there with me.
I hope you're addressing the audience when you say you're not going to like this.
I didn't
Because
know
I'm
if
right there with you.
Your compassion for Fall Out Boy might spur you to defend it from being a bottom feeder.
No, we've sang the praise of like the recent album. I am more than okay giving some serious consideration here to these last two tiers. I don't think Crime to Humanity makes sense. I want to reserve that for the really legendary.
There has to be not a single good moment on this record, but there are a couple.
What
I
a
would
Catch
say-
Donnie bare minimum puts this in fucking awful.
I would say
I like it less than California.
you like this less than California? Girl, stop.
California had like its moments.
No, because there's not a single song on California that touches What a Catch Donnie or I Don't Care.
That's what we're doing, huh?
That's what we're doing.
Well, if you want to play that, then like not a single song of Aggressive touches.
That's where I'm at.
All right.
This is the king of fucking awful.
This is probably, of the spots we've considered here, the one that will get us in the least amount of trouble.
I think this is fair.
Yeah.
I would sooner listen to a song off of this than either of these two albums. At least there's a song. You know what I mean? At least there's a song or two I can come back to. Neither of these really had that. They weren't nearly as atrocious as Green Day.
Fair.
That's why they're up here. But Fall Out Boy's better than these two. It may only get worse from here, ladies and gentlemen. Death of a Bachelor by Panic at the Disco is the 5th studio album following 2013's Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. This is the first Panic at the Disco album to be a solo effort by lead singer and songwriter Brendan Urie. The album features themes of growing older.
I'm a little surprised.
Celebration.
'Cause
and
I-
accepting the past.
I
Big
thought
themes.
Dallin Weeks was still a part of the band by this point.
maybe he was like part of the band
unless
in
this
terms
is
of
considered
performing,
like
but not
Ryan's
like
not there, or Spencer, whatever the drummer's
yeah, like
name
the
was.
original members had all like
Yeah.
left at that point. This doesn't state singles, but I'm pretty sure that Victorious was one, Death
Emperor's
of a
New
Bachelor,
Clothes.
Emperor's New Clothes,
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And for what it's worth, House of Memories is like this band's second or third biggest song right now if you're going by Spotify numbers, with like a fucking extremely healthy 700-800 million.
What in the fucking
So there's got to be
TikTok is
some
that
weird
shit?
like TikTok afterlife that it
Yeah,
experienced.
that explains it.
'Cause
Because
I
I,
do not-
definitely do not think it was
Yeah.
that popular at the time.
It was not.
Marcus, this might be
Hold on. Transport yourself back to 20 whenever when this drops. Feelings about this record at the time.
that's where I was going with this.
Okay.
I remember when this album first came out, I was a staunch defender of the Brendan Urie era. I said this smoky fucking like underground club jazzy Vegas of Death of a Bachelor is incredible. The Emperor's New Clothes video, fucking astoundingly good.
I
A
remember
lot of
listening
fun
to this album.
to be had on this record from start to finish. Very fun to sing along to. Even the bad single, as far as I'll consider it, Victorious, had its charm.
Yeah. I remember one thing explicitly about this record
Yeah, which is
was
what?
that, like, at the time of hearing it for the first time, is that I felt like Brendan Urie was the vocalist. Like, no one could touch Brendan Urie.
I still think that as a vocalist, Brendan Urie does have a lot of personality to his voice. And I think obviously with this record in particular, he really leaned into like his roots and where he came from and tried to embody that in songs like Death of a Bachelor in particular, or Crazy Equals Genius. I think that he really wanted to sell who he was based on where and how he was raised and the music that he came up with, right? I think Vegas is really emblazed into, like ingrained into this record in a way that is much more acceptable than what it was in Viva Las Vengeance, which ended up becoming like a parody of this album in some capacity.
Strangely so. It's definitely one of the most important aspects of this album, and ultimately like this band's like career path and trajectory. The discovery of like being able to incorporate, what would you call it? Not like cabaret, like
Yeah, but Cabaret, you're
like
onto like the right
Barry
thing.
Manilow, like, is that who
Yeah,
I'm thinking
yeah,
of?
it's like this almost like smoky jazz club
Yeah.
style to it, right? It's not
That was
jazz, but it's like time and place sort of thing.
It was some, maybe not even accidental genius. It was some partial genius.
It gave it
on Brendan
texture.
Urie's
It
part.
made it stand out. Ultimately, going back to this record, it's one of the most poorly aged things I've ever heard in my life. At the time, I think that ultimately it was kind of like mall emo, right? But in a way that felt innocent and simple. And now it's mall emo in a way that feels annoying and poorly aged
Right.
and kind of hollow and shallow and not really anything to any of it, really.
This one was for the theater kids that no one liked.
Precisely.
Like, there's
Yeah.
no redeeming quality in these theater kids.
But it spoke to me at the time.
I'm
And revisiting it is so strange to listen to these songs and how little there really is there to attach to.
I'm mostly there with you. What I will say is that tracks like Death of a Bachelor, where you've stumbled into that magic, you've found like a really interesting sound and have expanded on it. A track like that shines so bright to me in Panic at the Disco's entire catalog. Death of a Bachelor is a highlight in Panic's discography as a whole. It is for me still, even with re-listens, going back and experiencing this whole album, that track in particular is still a top 10 Panic at the Disco song for me.
And I think personally it's lost a lot of its luster. And as much as I wanted to feel that way about it, There is an air of overproduction that haunts every fucking inch of this record in a way that you can see why it was so fucking radio friendly the year it came out. But now it's like, now it had, like, now all of those little, like, tricks and, like, flourishes just feel hollow. Like, they just feel commercial, and there's, like, it feels like there's no actual meat on the bone of this record.
And I think the song that is like that is best exemplified in Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah.
Which for me is like,
Going back to that song, I felt like I was listening to a completely different track than what I heard at the time. I was like, this song was so much fun. What happened? What is this?
yeah, it's just it's busy. It's so busy. It's loud and not in like a really energetic or entertaining way. It's a very draining loud. And that is sort of the case for a lot of this record. It's just loud and draining.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier about like, okay, you know, Brendan Urie kind of found something in like the cabaret smokiness, like leaning into that Las Vegas side of things.
Yeah.
But this is also where he really started to push his voice. And initially, upon the release of this record, again, that was something that I believe impressed me. And going back to it now, it is like, he discovered fire and eventually learned how to make a gun as the other albums came out. Like,
Okay.
like it's humanity getting worse, like evolving into a worse thing in real time.
Right.
It's
no, I
like,
saw Marvel's The Eternals. Yes.
some of the songs on here where he's pushing his voice vocally are like, those songs, ran so that everything on fucking Viva Las Vengeance could crawl and wither and die by the end of that record. It's like, it's weird too, because I really do enjoy a lot of like the Las Vegas centric stuff. I think this record should have started with Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time. I think it kicks off the album in a nice way. Death of a Bachelor, I still think again is a great track. And honestly, a song I believe is underappreciated in this band's discography.
Say it.
LA Devotee?
I will. What you said earlier about Death of a Bachelor being a top 10 song in
This is right
Panic's
there with it
discography.
for me.
That's the one for me. Yes. LA Devotee, like, LA Devotee is almost inexplicable in this listening experience, because I'm listening to every song on this album and I'm being like, oh my God, like my hands just like my head is my hand the whole fucking time. I'm like, this can't be real life. And then we hit LO Devotee and it's like, somehow, some way, it manages to persist. It was great then, and it is still great today.
It feels like the forgotten single. It ends up having just like some fucking killer lyrics. Like there's some wordplay with like people's signs, like, you know, Pisces, things like that.
And
Taurus.
I think Brendan's delivery really shines there.
And there's that loud Brendan that actually works.
Mm-hmm.
Like that song is fucking absolute magic. You've got like this weird, like at this time, like this band's incorporating like some weird, like satanic stuff on the side, some cultish stuff.
Yeah, they're in a
And it's
little strange.
especially
But
working
again, I
in
think
LA
there's a little
Devotee.
Vegas in that as well too.
True. It's especially where it's sinning, especially works in LA Devotee. And then like right into 3 fucking Golden Days, Good, Bad, and the Dirty, House of Memories, super fucking forgettable.
I now understand why House of Memories was presumably some sort of TikTok mega jingle, because it really is one of those songs that is just like 8 words that you could hear repeated over and over again that speak to a certain something that you can like illustrate in a video, and there's nothing else there. Like that is the existence that song deserves. I will say that I think the Good, Bad, and the Dirty has a bit of a stronger hook than some of these other songs on the record. And I think that helps give it a little bit more, but it's not like a wholly redeemable aspect of the song, but I did find myself singing along to it a little bit.
One
Golden Days is fucking terrible. Crazy Equals Genius is fucking terrible. Hallelujah is terrible. Victorious is fucking terrible.
I'm going to push back a little bit on Crazy Equals Genius. And the reason why is that was the one song on this record. Heading back into it, I remember hating.
Yeah.
And coming out of being like, Why did I hate that song
No,
so
this
much?
album just beat you down, dude. And like you didn't know
I
what you
don't
were
know.
doing. You were lost.
I think
you
that
didn't know-
chorus
You
of
couldn't remember your home address.
champagne, cocaine, gasoline.
Somebody
is
showed
so
you a little
fucking
bit of
catchy.
love, and you thought it was more than it truly was.
It's Stockholm syndrome.
You know what's crazy to me? Impossible Year, where we strip everything back, is got to be one of the most miserable fucking songs on this whole record. I can't believe how bad it is.
Yeah, it's
What
not
a fucking
great.
soft landing to the end of this record. Like, just a complete disappointment. Just something that's like meant to have like this sort of like power by just its sort of stripped back raw nature, and there's just nothing is being said here at all. And like, I like that it is trying to mimic a style. I just don't think it made a great song to mimic that style with.
How disappointing for you is it that like you just don't like this album anymore now?
I really thought I was going to come
Well,
back to this
upon
record and be
revisit-
like, I was right the whole time. Let's put Death of a Bachelor up at the top of this tier list.
I think of like because I've probably done it like tweeting like, all right, you guys want to know like the top 5 or 6 Panic at the Disco albums?
Right, and just embarrass yourself over
And
and
it's
over
like,
again.
you know, the first one, and then it's, you know, I really enjoyed Too Rare to Live, Too Fucking Weird to Die or whatever. And then I was probably gonna be like, this one is my third.
I think
And that's so wrong of me.
I think if I went back to a Fever, You Can't Sweat Out, and that's how I left that album, it would be truly
It would
tragic
break
for
me.
me.
I could never trust my own like
right
opinions
perception
ever-
of like
yeah.
yeah, precisely. Death of a Bachelor isn't quite that record,
well,
and it never
so
was even at its height.
A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Obviously, it's a very different record. It has like 15 years on this album, 10 years on this album, whatever. Very telling though when you think about it, because A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is an album I've revisited a lot over the years. I've also called it like one of the greatest albums of all time, not to spoil episode fucking 89 when we eventually get to it.
Sure.
But I never really revisited this one, and I think that's partially telling.
You know, another one of their albums that I've never really revisited as well is Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, which I have very fond memories of, and now I'm very scared to go back and listen to.
I'll
Like,
revisit
now
that
I'm
one
destroying
occasionally.
childhood memories, you know what I mean? Like, now fucking, what's his name? Bong Bong? He's dead. He's fucking dead.
Oh no.
All of my Inside Out
Not
memory
Bong Bong.
little crystal balls have shattered.
Okay.
I don't...
It's the last 2 tiers again. It's that conversation.
Hold on. This is better than Fall Out Boy.
Yeah?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For
all
me
right.
personally.
I don't see it getting out of pretty mid.
That's my question, I guess. Is it better than Fall Out Boy here, or is it better than Fall Out Boy here? That Mom Jeans record is so strange because even at this point, I remember absolutely fuck all about it. It's one of the most perfect examples of pretty mid, where it's
Yeah.
like, it wasn't bad enough to be here, but it wasn't good enough in any capacity to be further than where it is. So I'd almost put Panic above that, but I think that Amir album has better music on it. It'd be a hard stop right there for me.
Let's drop it in and see how it looks. I'll humor it. Sure. That's what this record deserves. Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure.
That leaves us with just one this week, Marcos, which would be Danger Days, The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. Ahem. Danger Days is the last studio album Man, God, that is true, huh? Is the last studio album put out by American rock band.
Oh.
Fuck you. Emo scene band, My Chemical Romance, before their hiatus. In true MCR spirit, the record is a concept album detailing the adventures of a group known as the Killjoys. The Killjoys are trying to overthrow an omnipotent company called Better Living Industries, yada, yada, yada. The album can also relate to the real world we live in, with Better Living Industries being society, the drugged people being the world, the pills being the rules society has set out for our lives, so on and so forth. Danger Days is noticeably different from the band's earlier
We're
albums.
going to return to that enthusiasm around the story. We're going to return to that.
Originally, album 4 was comprised of the songs now part of the conventional Weapons EPs, but the band decided to go in a different direction. That's fascinating. I don't know that
Which
I knew
was
that.
no direction at all because they never released another album.
Calm down. Okay, so
Similar-
circling back, 2010, the last album ever from My Chemical Romance, Danger Days, follow up to The fucking Black Parade. The greatest album in emo history. We'll see when we get to it, but
I don't know
obviously.
if it's because you told me it was good or not, but I also never listened to this album when it came out.
How are you listening to these albums for the first time?
No.
How?
This isn't my first time listening to this
Oh, okay,
record.
all right.
But
Fuck, man.
it was
You have me fucked up a little bit.
it was
with these
probably
statements.
3 or 4 years after the fact of this record coming out. I remember being into the singles. You had your Na Na Na, you had
Yeah.
your Bulletproof Heart, your Sing. I thought these were good. And then I don't know if I started listening to it, what may have happened, but I had no enthusiasm to check out this whole thing. It took me forever.
Okay.
I eventually get to it.
Okay.
It's fine. And now, all these years later, I've heard it a number of times. And I ultimately still feel the same way. This record's fine, if not extremely disappointing. Still,
You know what the
to this
problem is? You
day.
know what the problem is with this record? Is that I come back to it and it starts so fucking strong. I think I'm turning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We come in with this intro, Look Alive, Sunshine, and I love the setting. I love the concept. I love where we're spinning here.
So, as far as like, I talked about like coming back to like, you know, the story, the setting, all that stuff, enthusiasm around it. This band sells you on it so fast. Like the world building is there until it's not.
And it feels fun too. Like it feels fun. It's not as like dramatic as the last record, right? Like this feels a little sillier. It feels a little less serious, and I like that about it. And like you said, you start off with like 3 singles right at the top, and like I'm in the track 4, and I'm like, I misremembered this album entirely. This might have
Yeah.
actually been a complete banger. And I'm still kind of there for Planetary Go.
But like it's starting.
And I'm starting to fade.
Yeah.
And the only hope for me is you is like, okay.
And then like you get your Look Alive Sunshine 2
Yeah.
and Jetstar and the Cobra Kids / Traffic Report, and it's shorter and it doesn't feel quite as like
It's
lived
fine,
in.
right? And then it is just brutal from there for me personally.
Yeah.
I think Party Poison through Destroya is one of the roughest runs in this band's discography by far. It doesn't help that most runs in this band's discography are absolutely stellar. So by point of comparison, this is like tragic. It just never really gets there. It just does, like Summertime has like the right energy to be a ballad hit, but it never fully connects.
I think of that
Destroya coming in
batch-
with like an attitude. It has the right energy, but it never fully connects.
Of that batch, I think I take Scarecrow above all of them. But even then, like a track like that, Summertime, they're good songs.
Right,
They're
that's
just
like you
not-
have your hand on the table and someone saying like, which finger do you want to like keep? It's
Right.
like, I guess my fucking middle one. Who gives a
They're-
shit?
They're fine songs. They're not My Chemical Romance songs at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to limit what this band is, because I do like seeing different sides of them. Like Na Na Na, Planetary Go, these are completely different sides of this band we had never seen before, and they do work. And then the instances in which they don't work are so incredibly painful. Destroy especially.
It's like you can't
Party
even believe
Poison
what
is
band you're
fucking
listening
miserable.
to. It makes no sense.
A band that have put out like some of the greatest albums of all time go on a 5-song skid on their 3rd record. Like we're not even talking like this is 12 albums in and like, you know what, like their best material is gone.
Right, this feels like their sophomore slump on their 4th record, which
Yeah.
is crazy. You know what is worth noting, though, is I don't think I loved anything from Conventional Weapons enough to think that would have been a better record. I think that actually might have been a worse record than this had they decided to go with it.
Conventional Weapons does have one of my favorite My Chem songs ever, period. And then the rest of it exists. So I don't know, you were probably not wrong.
I will say that I think The Kids From Yesterday is fucking fantastic.
Kids From Yesterday is good.
It's got this sort of like nostalgic air to it, and it like really pulls on the heartstrings, and I really love it for that too. And I think Vampire Money, this album kind of goes out with a banger as well.
I don't like Vampire Money. I never have. I never will.
Man, How can you not like a My Chemical Romance song where one of the lines is "We came to fuck"? That hits hard.
It's a really empty song for me.
Isn't that kind of the point behind that song, if I remember correctly?
Well, right.
Is the idea that it was supposed to be like the Twilight song?
Is that it does end up feeling empty.
Interesting. So it's almost like they went too meta with it.
Right.
Man,
and then
what
Goodnight Dr.
weird,
Death is like another throwaway
fucking...
like outro, right?
No, I love all the outro, intro, like midtro shit. I really enjoy that. I don't think it does enough to save this album in any way, but I do like it. I think had you had 5 better songs in this middle pool here, then that would have made for like an entirely great experience. The problem is that you've worn my patience so thin that at this point I could give a fuck about the concept in any capacity, right? Yeah. This is tough. Because the fact of the matter is that Na 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 is still an incredible fucking song. Sing is still a very good song. I love the Kids from Yesterday.
You start strong.
This
you
isn't
end okay,
but some of those middle songs are so bad. It's like not even terribly far away from what we have with these 2 records that we've already ranked. Let's start here. Is it better than Fall Out Boy's Folie A Deux?
It's a tough question. I want to say no.
Fuck, man. Oh, fuck.
But it does have like some of the My Chem songs.
For me personally, I feel like it's better than Folie A Deux. For me.
Okay.
Is it better than Panic at the Disco? And can you believe that you might sit here and say no? I think it's better than Panic. I'd push that far.
I think it's worse. I think
we're comparing like songs for songs. Like really,
bro. We're going band for band right now. L.A. Devotee clears Na Na Na. Death of a Bachelor clears Sing.
Fuck, dog.
And then like I don't know.
Is this better than the Mom Jeans record, which has had no impact on us in any capacity? Or by the fact that we can look at our disappointment, does that somehow make it worse than that record? Is this the top of fucking awful or the bottom of pretty mid, Marcos? That's your call, because I can't look our fans in the eyes when I finish doing this.
I think it's top of fucking awful.
Oh God, that hurts to look at. That it just hurts to look at because it might very well be true.
2 of the emo trinity now own albums and fucking awful.
Oh, that fucking hurts to look at. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go, guys. Bye. It's been fun. Bye.
Bye.